Prime Minister Narendra Modi takes stock of the availability of medical oxygen in the country at a high-level meeting, directs authorities to ensure adequate stocks for the next 15 days, especially for the 12 states worst hit by the pandemic. Centre asks states to ensure unhindered interstate movement of oxygen tankers, urges them not to force oxygen manufacturers to limit the oxygen supplies to state only. Centre also decides to ramp up production of indigenous corona vaccine, Covaxin, production to be doubled by May, June and 6 to 7 times by August 2021. Voting begins for the fifth phase of West Bengal Assembly elections. COVID restrictions being followed, all arrangements in place. By-polls in 2 seats of Lok Sabha and 12 assembly seats of 9 states. Voting underway. Campaigning for 6th phase of West Bengal elections gains momentum. Prime Minister to address 2 election rallies. Senior BJP leader and Home Minister Amit Shah will also address various rallies. TMC and other parties scheduled to address campaign rallies to woo the voters. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar reiterates India's support for an Afghan-led, Afghan-owned and Afghan-controlled peace process. Speaking at the Raisina dialogue, Dr. Jaishankar cautions that the future of Afghanistan should not be a return to its past. And UK government clears extradition of Narendra Modi, the scamster who had swindled around 9,000 crores from the Punjab National Bank and fled to the United Kingdom. UK Home Secretary Preeti Patel signs the extradition order on Thursday. US President Joe Biden seeks to present united front with Japanese Prime Minister. US leader holds his first face-to-face meet since taking office in Jan. Biden says Suga affirms support for US-Japanese alliance and for shared security. Good morning. Welcome to English News this Saturday morning. I am Anil Thomas. Now for the stories in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday took a comprehensive review to ensure adequate supply of medical oxygen in the country. Prime Minister Modi has asserted that it is important to ensure synergy among ministries and state governments to ensure the adequate availability of oxygen supply. He also directed to increase the production of medical oxygen to fulfill the growing demands. Prime Minister Modi also took a detailed review of the current situation of oxygen supply and projected use in the coming 15 days across the 12 high-burden states. An overview of the district-level situation in these states was presented to the Prime Minister. He was also informed that the oxygen cylinders filling plants will also be permitted to function round the clock with necessary safeguards. The government is allowing industrial cylinders to be used for medical oxygen after due purging. Similarly, nitrogen and argon tankers will be automatically allowed to be converted to oxygen tankers to overcome the potential shortage of tankers. Prime Minister was also informed about the efforts being made to import medical-grade oxygen. The centre has asked all states and union territories to ensure hassle-free inter- and intrastate movement of vehicles carrying medical oxygen. In a letter written to Chief Secretaries of all states and union territories, Union Home Secretary Ajay Bhalla has asked them to fully comply with the supply plan planned for or prepared for distribution of medical logistics, including medical oxygen. The state governments have been urged to ensure that no restrictions shall be imposed on oxygen manufacturers and suppliers to limit the oxygen supplies only to the hospitals of the state in which they are located. The local administration has been asked to ensure that there shall be free movement of oxygen carrying vehicles into the cities without any restrictions of timings, while also enabling intercity supply without a restriction. The transport authorities in the state and union territories are also instructed to allow free interstate movement of oxygen carrying vehicles. An empowered group mandated for coordinating medical logistics, including oxygen, had prepared a supply plan this week for ensuring its incessant supply across the country. The center has said that medical oxygen is an essential public health commodity and any impediment in its supplies can critically impact the management of patients suffering from COVID-19 disease in other parts of the country. An all-out effort is being made by the Government of India to tackle the surging second wave of COVID-19. The government has ensured that there are no shortages, even as it warned hoarders and black marketers of drugs like remdesivir of stern action. States too have rolled out measures to bring the situation under control. Let's take a look at this report.
India continues to fight COVID pandemic spiritedly. Testing, tracking and restrictions are the leading weapons for the nation. Centre has made it clear once again that there is no shortage of anything and decisions are being taken to tackle the surge. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan has said that with 1 year experience in tackling the situation, India is more than ready for the challenges ahead. He gave a stern warning to the hoarders and those indulging in black marketing of essential drugs.
हम सब प्रकार की परिस्थितियों के बारे में आज उससे लड़ने के लिए ज़्यादा बेटर ढंग से इक्विप्ड हैं, कम से कम मेंटली, इंटेलेक्चुअली, मॉरली और अपनी करेज की दृष्टि से। शायद हमारे पास आज पहले के मुकाबले 1 साल क्योंकि हमने लड़ाई को लड़ा है, सक्षम तरीके से लड़ा है, आज हमारे पास उससे भी ज़्यादा कॉन्फिडेंस है।
UP has also taken many steps to fight the virus. 2 hospitals in Lucknow have been converted to dedicated COVID hospitals. OPD services in all government clinics is suspended. Weekend curfew in the state has been imposed. Only sanitation, sanitization and emergency services will be allowed during the weekend curfew.
पूरे प्रदेश में मास्क लगाने पर विशेष जोर दिया गया है। आज मुख्यमंत्री जी ने ये भी घोषणा की है कि यदि मास्क नहीं लगाया जाएगा तो भारी जुर्माना किया जाएगा और दूसरी बार अगर मास्क नहीं लगाएंगे तो कहीं अधिक जुर्माना किया जाएगा। इसके लिए आज ही सभी प्रशासनिक और पुलिस अधिकारियों को पुनः मजबूती से कहा गया है।
Other states including Madhya Pradesh, Bihar and Karnataka are also working on the war footing to control the spiraling surge of the cases.
राज्य सरकार लगातार कोशिश कर रही है कि सभी लोगों को जिनको आवश्यक स्वास्थ्य सुविधाएं चाहिए उनको स्वास्थ्य सुविधाएं मुहैया कराई जाए और अस्पतालों के अंदर बेडों की संख्या बढ़ाई जाए। NMCH को हम लोगों ने पूरी तरीके से कोरोना के लिए डेडिकेटेड करने का निर्णय लिया है। PMCH में बेड बढ़ा रहे हैं, एम्स में बेड बढ़ा रहे हैं।
Rajasthan has announced weekend curfew from 6 p.m. on Friday till 5 a.m. on Monday. Essential services will be exempt from the restrictions. Kerala has started massive testing drive to tackle the crisis, employing mobile testing vans to increase the reach of the testing facilities. Testing units are also being set up at various places. India's daily new cases continue to rise. 2,17,353 new cases were registered in the last 24 hours. 10 states including Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal have shown a rise in the COVID daily new cases. 79.10% of the new cases are reported from these 10 states. The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country has crossed 11.72 crore as part of the world's largest vaccination drive. But people continue to ignore precautions and are not following COVID-appropriate behavior, Necessary advisory has been issued to ensure there is no overstocking of essential items by the households. The challenge is huge and the adversary very difficult to detect and defeat, but it is not impossible. With a combined effort and discipline, India can surely win this war against the COVID pandemic. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, in view of a surge in COVID cases, Delhi is under the weekend restrictions beginning last night for those categories of persons engaged in essential services or goods and personal emergencies, etc. As per the DDMA orders, movement passes are being issued. Delhi Police has started a helpline to facilitate the movement pass for eligible persons as per the DDMA order to help persons in essential services and goods. The helpline is set up at the police headquarters with pilot number 011-234-69900. I repeat, 011-234-69900. In case such eligible persons face any difficulty or inconvenience in getting their movement passes from police authorities or seek any clarification, they can call for assistance on the Delhi Police Movement Pass helpline. Well, Delhi has reported 19,486 new cases and 141 fatalities in the last 24 hours. Delhi's positivity rate stood at, in the last 24 hours, stood at 19.69%, while 12,649 patients have recovered. The cumulative positive cases in Delhi stood at 8,03,623. COVID-19 tests conducted in the national capital in a single day stood at 98,957. Well, voting began in West Bengal for the fifth phase of assembly elections. In view of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Election Commission has decided to allow a maximum of 1,000 voters in one polling station. Voters with COVID infected or suspected infection have the facility to vote by postal ballot after certification by the competent authority. A total of 1,071 companies of security forces are deployed for the fifth phase. Meanwhile, paramilitary forces have also been adequately deployed to prevent any disturbance in the election process. Voting is also being held for the by-elections in 2 Lok Sabha seats and 12 assembly seats in 9 states. By-elections are being held in Tripura, are being held for Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh and Belgaum Lok Sabha seat in Karnataka. Polling will conclude at 6:30 p.m. Well, for more on the story, we got Ani Brito, our correspondent, joining us from Kolkata this morning to take us through the fifth phase of elections in West Bengal. Ani Brito, good morning.
Morning.
Early hours, but how do you see, the polling buzz, especially when it comes to people coming out? The fear of COVID there, but people coming out. Are people ready to come out? Especially to cast their vote early before the sun sets in?
Yeah, Anil, you are rightly said, because this fifth phase is looked as the most crucial phase of Bengal election, because with this phase, Bengal election is crossing halfway mark. And today, as you know, biggest number of assembly seats is going to poll. The poll is underway. 45 assembly seats where the poll is taking place of the 5 districts in Bengal. The thing is that this brutal rise of COVID pandemic and the persistent rise of ease is certainly created a fear psychosis among the voters. All COVID protocols have been taken into account, because meanwhile, the Election Commission held a all-party meeting yesterday, in which it was decided that the silence period will be extended to 72 hours in each of these phases. And the voters and the candidates will be allowed to campaign this campaigning period has largely been shortened.
Okay.
Okay. Also, campaign from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. the next morning.
Anibrita, also tell us, this is a key phase, as you mentioned. Tell us some of the big names in the fray, that one should look forward.
Yeah. there are several names, the several contesting candidates who are the heavyweight, taken as a heavyweight candidate, because in the fringe of Kolkata, in Vidhannagar particularly, they are the cabinet minister who is there. Sujit Bosu is contesting, and against Sujit Bosu, Sabyasachi Dotto was a mayor, former mayor of Vidhannagar. He is also there, and apart from them, there are many. Ashok Bhattacharya was the mayor in Siliguri. Gautam Dev is cabinet minister, and this phase is the most crucial phase is taken into account, because this phase will decide who will come to the power, come to the seat of power in Bengal. Because if you take into account of these, the North 24 Pargana seats, because 16 out of these 33 seats in North 24 Pargana alone is going to poll today. In 2016, BJP drew blank, but in 2019, it has largely changed the course, because BJP entered into the hinterland, in the fortress of the Trinamool Congress, and they have made major inroads. That is now how this thing will be reflected this time in assembly election. That is most crucial.
Okay, I'll just ask you to hold your thoughts. Let me just read what the Prime Minister has just tweeted. The Prime Minister has tweeted with regards to the fifth phase of polling in West Bengal, urging all those voting in today's fifth phase of the West Bengal elections to vote in large numbers. First-time voters in particular should exercise their franchise. There are There are by-polls taking place in different parts of the country. As I mentioned, Prime Minister has also urged voters in the seats polling today to vote in record numbers and strengthen the festival of democracy. But having said that, just what I just read out what the Prime Minister has tweeted. But, considering that there has been a spike in COVID-19 cases, there has also been a spike in the number of fatalities that have been reported from West Bengal. Is there a fear factor that's set in, especially when it comes to the voters stepping out to vote? Or do you see, exactly the opposite? There is an enthusiasm. There is an enthusiasm among the first-time voters. There is an enthusiasm among the youth. And there is also an enthusiasm among the elders to come out and cast their franchise in this festival of democracy.
Yeah, Anil, you are rightly said, because, the fear is largely there, because this persistent rise of this COVID, and because COVID has become a persistent king and ruling the roost. And nowadays what is being found as community spreading. But here, in Bengal, voters used to take this election in a festive, spirit. And as you know, in every phase, as we have found large turnout, what we have witnessed, and this time also is no exception. Election Commission is truly adhering all the COVID protocols that they have been asked to take into account, and elaborate arrangements have been made in all the polling stations. Because before voters entering into the polling station, they are being properly checked. They are giving sanitizer and hand gloves and all these things they are given. Thereafter, they are allowed to enter into the booth. Actually, Anil, what happened in Shitalkuchi, and thereafter this persistent rise of this corona has virtually changed the course of election this time. And what we are witnessing this time, the highest number of the central force deployment, because 852 company of central force is there. And again, each of the polling station is witnessing the highest concentration of the central force.
Okay, Anibrita, I'll just ask you to hold your thoughts once again. Let me go through that phase 6 of campaigning that's picking up momentum there. Today is phase 5 of polling, but phase 6 of campaigning that's picking up in this particular West Bengal elections. It's gaining momentum, and in this phase, polling will be held on the 22nd of April for 43 assembly seats in 4 districts of the state. Prime Minister will address 2 election rallies in Asansol and the other in Gangarampur. Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah will also hold a roadshow today in West Bengal. He will address public meetings in the state. Well, coming back now to Anibrito, looking at phase 5, that's the most important phase, as you mentioned. This in 2016, 32 seats went to TMC. But when you look at the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, BJP made a roaring comeback in this particular phase. So how do you see, the balance in this particular phase? Would you say it's even Stevens, or would you say, the regional force, or for that matter, the national political party has an edge?
Actually, Anil, as you know, what we are witnessing this time, soon after this 2019 Lok Sabha election,
Okay.
we have witnessed saffron surge in every nook and corner of West Bengal.
Okay.
And possibly this is the first time in Bengal election where the voters are, there is no ideological setup dominating their mind,
Okay.
because they are free to choose their, the candidate this time. They are free to choose whoever they want to, one party they bring to the power. And that is the most crucial thing, because Trinamool Congress was in power for the last 10 years. Thereafter, beforehand, they also experienced with the left and the Congress. So this time they want to, experiment with something new. Now, how this will translate into poll and what will be there when the election result will be declared on the 2nd May, that is largely to be seen. But the voters' mind has largely been changed this time, and it is also equally true that the BJP has made big inroad into the hinterlands and into the bastions of the Trinamool Congress.
Okay, one quick word. Looking at this particular fifth phase of elections, especially in West Bengal, this is one phase where the TMC would be looking to make comeback, because considering what BJP did in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, and if you even look at the vote share, especially between the two parties there, not just a swing of 4% could change or could tilt the balance in the other's favor. So having said that, is this the most bitterly fought phase of this particular election?
Yeah, it's true, because, Anil, in Lok Sabha election, BJP got more, percentage vote than the Trinamool Congress. They got 45.1% votes, while Trinamool was lagging far behind. It was 39%. So these two districts, particularly this North 24 Pargana and South 24 Pargana, in South 24 Pargana polling ended, but these two districts constitute the large number of seats, because in South 24 Pargana there was 31 seats, while in 32 seats, while in North 24 Pargana there are 33 seats. If you take into account of these two districts, there are 83 seats altogether.
Okay.
Sorry, 83 now, it's 63 seats altogether. So if it is certainly a decisive issue, and whichever party will gain more seats will certainly come to the power that is taken in charge.
Okay, Anubrita, you've got a busy day ahead. Not a busy day ahead, I would say a busy fortnight ahead, especially when it comes to the remaining three phases of election. So it's going to be interesting times ahead for you. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning, giving us those updates on phase 5 of polling, especially in West Bengal. Remember, the hill districts are in the fray, and that's going to be crucial, and that's going to be the big talking point from this phase of elections. 45 seats are for grabs. 3 more phases of elections left on the 22nd, 26th and the 29th. Counting of votes for all the 4 states and the union territories on the 2nd of May. Staying with elections, but by-elections in Karnataka, where the Belgaum Lok Sabha by-poll has begun. The by-poll has turned into a prestigious battle for the BJP and the opposition Congress in Karnataka. Top leaders from both camps, including Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yedurappa and Leader of Opposition Siddaramaiah, have campaigned for the two candidates. The by-poll was necessitated after Minister of State for Railways Suresh Angadi died last year due to COVID-19. His wife is contesting from the constituency against the Congress candidate, who is a sitting MLA from that particular seat. Besides this by-poll on the 2 assembly seats in North Karnataka, that's in Basava Kalyan and Maski, will also be crucial for the ruling party, as BJP hopes to make its presence strong there. Strict COVID-19 protocols being implemented, and polling started at 7 a.m. this morning. Well, Prime Minister has tweeted with regards to that particular story. He has said there are by-polls taking place in different parts of the country. Prime Minister has urged the voters in the seats polling today to vote in record numbers and strengthen the festival of democracy. Well, a quick look at international stories. US President Joe Biden on Friday sought to present a united front with Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. The US leader held his first face-to-face White House summit since taking office in Jan. Biden hosted Suga for talks that offered the Democratic president a chance to work further on his pledge to revitalize US alliance that frayed under his Republican predecessor, Donald Trump. China topped the agenda, underscoring Japan's central role in US efforts to face down the challenge from Beijing.
Prime Minister Suga and I affirmed our ironclad support for U.S.-Japanese alliance and for our shared security. We committed to working together to take on the challenges from China and on issues like the East China Sea, the South China Sea, as well as North Korea, to ensure a future of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Japan and the United States are two strong democracies in the region, and we're committed to defending and advancing our shared values, including human rights and the rule of law.
Well, Joe Biden also said that the US and Japan will together invest in areas such as 5G, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, genomics and semiconductor supply chains. Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Suga said that he and Biden agreed on the necessity of frank discussions with China in the context of Beijing's activities in the Indo-Pacific region and reaffirmed the importance of the US-Japan alliance.
We also had serious talks on China's influence over the peace and prosperity of the Pacific and the world at large. We agreed to oppose any attempts to change the status quo by force or coalition in the East and South China Seas and intimidation of others in the region. At the same time, we agreed on the necessity for each of us to engage in frank dialogue with China and in so doing to pursue stability of international relations while upholding universal values.
Well, moving to sports stories, Olympic-bound star Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat won her maiden Asian Championship gold medal after she pinned her rival in the summit clash in Almaty on Friday. There was no stopping Vinesh in the absence of the Chinese and the Japanese rivals as he cruised to the title without losing a point in the 53-kilogram category. Vinesh has notched up 7 podium finishes at the Asian meet over the years, including 3 silver medals before this particular edition. Well, 19-year-old Anshu Malik also won gold medal in the 57-kilogram category. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of news. But remember, the battle against COVID-19 continues. Follow the simple step of SMS. S stands for sanitizing, M stands for masking yourself, S stands for social distancing. Follow these 3 simple steps. The battle against COVID-19 continues. If you got your vaccination shot or you haven't, if you are 45 and above, please get yourself registered for vaccination. The battle against it continues. Remember, it's not about you and me or our loved ones. It's about humanity at large. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Take care.